Hey, Liv, you want to see something funny? Liv, you want to see something funny?
Yeah.
So my wife is dressed as, she's in Florida right now, but she's dressed as Steve Harvey.
No way.
Yeah.
Bald and all?
Her cousin, her aunt went as Steve Harvey. Isn't that hilarious?
So funny.
That's my wife right there. I'm mad you look so much serious.
When you show those two of them, so I'm like, which one is your wife? And they both look like.
Why
Are
you?
they all related?
Are they all related? Yeah.
Okay.
I'm looking like, why are y'all so serious in this picture?
I can see every single one of your teeth, molars included.
Answer is.
Like, that's hilarious. I saw there was this one video on Instagram, and it was Steve Harvey hit a split and everything in the suit.
Oh, I thought you meant actually
Yeah.
Steve. I thought you meant actually Steve Harvey. I was like, though. Say, what the hell, Steve Harvey doing all that?
It was a fake Steve Harvey. But hit it. That would have to be on some AI type shit. AI type shit.
Oh, hold on. Let me run this back too. There's actually one more thing I gotta bring up. That's correct. Yeah. Girl, who is you? And haunt your day. I'm ready. It's Cash Color Campus, a high level of conversation on live hiphopdaily.tv, and we are back after a 2-week hiatus, man. I don't want to run y'all down too deep about why I've been in the studio, but one of the things is I had to go to the dentist. I had to get a tooth removed in the back. I cracked my wisdom tooth, so I had to get that removed, and that was pain on top of pain on top of pain on top of pain on top of pain. And I knew I couldn't talk properly, and I didn't want to come on down here and have a mouthful of cotton and be doing the podcast. So I took two Tuesdays off, but I'm back. It's about to be a new month. Happy Halloween to everybody who do celebrate Halloween or Hallelujah Fest, whatever you do, you know. So it's totally up to you. But I wanted to come on tonight. I don't have a guest tonight, but trust me, November is going to be a very lit month for Cash Color Campus podcast. I was just letting my producer Herb know a little bit about some of the plans we have going, and it's going to be, like I say, it's going to be a lot of dope guests. It's going to be a lot of dope motion happening through the podcast. But there's been a lot of dope things happening over the last couple of weeks, and I like to shout out my girl Liv over there. What's up, Liv? Liv held me down the two Saturdays ago now, October 21st, she held me down at the Cannabis Literacy Club as they brought the Cannabis Education Conference to Morehouse College. Shout out to Cannabis Literacy Club, my man Mike. Shout out to Jay Buck and everybody involved over there for asking me to be a moderator for the panel. And it was dope, man. I had a chance to sit down and moderate interviews with such illustrious people, such as my man Dr. Rashawn Hodge, who is a Morehouse alum, Total Food and Pharmacy's own Dr. April Hang, as well as Ball Family Farms owner Chris Ball. And when I say it was an amazing time, first off, I was taken aback by the fact that I'm standing on Morehouse's campus. I'm walking into Sale Hall. And if you've ever been to Morehouse campus, you know Morehouse campus has some age on it. It's been around for a while. A lot of the buildings still haven't been necessarily brought into the new generation, and that's perfectly fine. Like, you definitely could feel the history when you're walking in there. And when I walked into Sale Hall and I walked into the auditorium where we're going to be doing this panel, I was taken aback. And I remember standing on the stage and thinking to myself, people like Spike Lee, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Samuel L. Jackson, a list of amazing personalities, names, talents amongst the black community have sat in this room for various reasons. And here I am on stage about to introduce these three people to talk about a subject that still is taboo in a lot of places. And I hate the fact that it's still taboo to have these conversations on HBCU campuses, but I'm blessed that Morehouse welcomed this conversation. So like I say, we had some amazing guests that night. night, and the crowd itself was so energetic and so ready to ask questions, ready to be informed, and just ready to be involved in this new industry and learn so much more about what's going on as far as cannabis, that I just really had to take a few moments to really just take all that in. It was really a great time. And if you had a chance, go to cashcolorcannabis.com. You can definitely see some pictures from that night. But one of the things I love the most, and that's my brother Chris Ball. For those who don't know, Chris Ball and Ball Family Farms, the story of how Chris got involved in cannabis in the first place, from going from a college athlete to a professional football player to where he is right now, is an amazing story. He had a chance to retell that story to the crowd, and there was a lot of laughs about it. And I forget his name. I forget his cousin's name who put him down. His cousin who put him into the game. But it's so funny he brought that up, because that's not the first time I actually had a chance to speak with Chris. But that's the first time I've heard that part of the story. And I was so taken aback. And I remember after everybody got done laughing and going through their jokes, my first question was, what the hell happened to Cuz? Like, Cuz put you on. Like, is he part of the game now? Is he good? Is he good? Is he set? He was the street professional before all this happened. But Chris has an amazing story, and it was just great. I'm really blessed to be able to take part in that kind of conversation, and to know that conversations like that are leading to so many more conversations in the city and around the city when it comes to cannabis. The other thing I love the most about the panel is the fact that while we were there, just knowing that these people came on their own, you know what I'm saying? Nobody had to be goaded in there. It wasn't about a big payday or nothing like that, especially for Chris. Chris spoke about that. He gets X amount of dollars to do these speaking engagements, and for this one right here to come to Morehouse and have this conversation, he did it on his own dime. Like, he flew himself out there. Like, it wasn't a big deal about getting the bag to come talk. It was more about talking in this room, like how I had the feeling. Talking in this room to these students about what is about to happen. And I was just blessed to be a part of that. And again, thank you, Mike. Thank you, Buck, for having me a part of that whole entire day and just involving me that whole entire weekend. It was Clark homecoming weekend, but it bled into more to Spellhouse homecoming. And just to have me a part of all the things that they had tied in, I'm truly honored. And you always have a friend to me. And you always know that y'all can tap me on the shoulder whenever y'all have anything like that going on involved. But speaking about conversations happening about cannabis in this state, after we did the cannabis education conference at Morehouse, that wasn't the last conversation, and I'm blessed to know that. That wasn't even close to the last conversation. The very following week, State Representative Eric Bell gathered at Bookstore Gallery down the street from the studio, if y'all familiar with the area we're at Bookstore Gallery, with a gang of activists and community leaders to do a press conference so he could introduce his plans of introducing a marijuana bill. I hate using that term, but a marijuana bill that he wants to introduce next year And I wish him all the luck for that. As you know, some pharmacies in Georgia will start selling what is called low THC oil. When they say pharmacies, it's not going to be CVS or Walmart, nothing like that. It's more going to be like Total Food and pharmacies, Dr. Hang's store, local pharmacies, independent pharmacies, things like that. And the few legal dispensaries that would be involved, like True Leaf, like Botanical Gardens. But State Representative Eric Bell and his coalition came through, and they want to talk about reforming Georgia's weed laws. Now that we are having these kind of conversations, now we are having these kind of businesses being opened up, let's talk about now reforming these laws on a state level, and I'm very proud that he brought that out. So they're looking at trying to reform Georgia weed laws, trying to bring out the conversation of expungement and expunging some of these records that some of these brothers and sisters have who do have cannabis charges on them, and even more. Like, it was really super dope. So for Bell announcing this in the press conference that he did and the coverage that it came with that, amazing. You talk about a conversation that's been going on up and down my timeline all this week. I mean, just to know that kind of traction happened and that we're watching local news outlets pick those up. It was amazing. It was really, really dope to know that that's possible. And actually, I'd love to see if we could have Eric actually come on the show one day and speak about his intentions of doing that and what led him even to jumping into this area. led him into jumping into this area. So it's going to be really, really, really dope to see this happen. Now, to be completely honest with you, they have an uphill battle with this. This isn't the first time somebody tried to introduce a bill in Georgia. And for those who know Georgia is not a state where we can necessarily vote on something like that. That has to be something that's agreed upon amongst the local politicians, the state representatives, state senators. That has to be agreed on amongst them. So I'm more just happy that they're still having these conversations. I mean, yeah, there's a bill that was introduced a little while ago, and that joint just kind of went away. But let's keep the conversation going. Keep presenting them, and keep presenting them until you get one that actually does pass. And even after that one passes, keep building on that. There's never going to be a perfect plan. Like I remember talking about that with my man Chris Brown. Chris was one of the activists who was present during this press conference. That there's never going to be a perfect bill, but eventually something's going to have to get passed, and after that gets passed, then it's going to open a gate for us to do a lot more. To bring a lot more to the table as far as what we can start adding to these things. So again, applause to Eric Bell, applause to everybody who was involved that day and what they were trying to accomplish, because I definitely am a supporter. I pray that everything that you're trying to do actually does go through. And if it doesn't go through, bro, hold your head up, because what you did is amazing and what you're trying to do is amazing. And it's just the start of something that's going to eventually happen here in the state. Also, right after this press conference, the very following day, the Minority Cannabis and Business Association held their equity workshop tour. They've been touring around the country, going to various cities, speaking about equity in the city, speaking about equity in those specific areas, and bringing out people who are involved in the cannabis space in those cities to kind of speak to people about what's going on, trying to gauge interest about getting into the industry, and also letting people know about some of the legal loopholes and things like that. So the MCBA was at the Georgia Hemp Company out in Sandy Springs. Shout out to my man Joe Salone. Joe is a very good friend of the show. If you know, Joe has been on the show 2 times, and we've actually filmed our show at his store during Super Bowl weekend a couple of years ago. So Joe's a huge supporter of the podcast, and we're a huge supporter of Georgia Hemp Company. The equity workshop was actually hosted at his stop. It was a 4-hour workshop program that consisted of roundtable conversations hosted by the likes of my man Stanley Atkins, marijuana for MM Zone, Stanley Atkins, also Georgia Hemp Company founder Joe Salone, Angelita Green, and Adrian Adams. So after they had their little individual conversations, later that afternoon, there was a panel discussion featuring Councilman Lance Robertson. Lance Robertson's also been on the show before. Teresa Yarborough, shout out to Teresa, and my good friend Antoine Mordecan, another brother who's been on this show, who's Alabama's director for MM. So it was a very informative day. I wasn't there present. I was actually at a wedding. My sister was getting married, so I actually couldn't make it to that day. But everybody who was live, shout out to my man Matt Johnson, who took plenty of pictures to let me know that Cash Color Campus magazine was literally in the place. You know what I'm saying? To see a couple of copies of the magazine there was amazing. To see people wearing Drug Lord shirts was super dope. Yeah, man, I loved it, man. It lets me know that Atlantis and Cash Color Campus is in the building even when we're not in the building. But it was a very informative day, and it was a good chance to highlight some of the many opportunities that's coming down through this industry. And I'm just, again, glad to be a part of this and glad to be able to see this level of engagement happen in 2023. When we first started the show in 2016, it was almost like pulling needles to get people to come through the show and actually speak about some of the things that was happening. Because at that time, even in 2016, people were still nervous about having open conversations about cannabis. So to see that in 2023, you have on one day a state representative announcing his plans to introduce a marijuana bill. The following day, you have the MCBA bringing their equity workshop. The week before that, the Cannabis Education Conference at Morehouse. To know that we've watched this kind of evolution and this kind of growth happen in the city, I'm honored to be a part of that, and I'm honored to be able to witness that. So let's keep this conversation going, man, because at some point, something's going to have to give and something's going to have to move. And I believe that the more voices come out, the more we start engaging, the more we start showing that we're going to be present, we're going to be loud, and we're going to keep being here, you're going to start seeing more changes. So finally, the last thing I want to touch on is the fact that Cash Color Cannabis is going to be in Las Vegas again for the annual MJ Biz Conference. And I was talking this time because normally I go by myself, But this round, I'm bringing the gang with me. Well, not the whole gang, but I'm bringing most of the gang with me. My producer Herb's coming with me. Possibly my good friend E1 might pull up with me, but who knows? We might bring another brother. We might bring another person out to come kick it with us. But we're gonna be down there covering, doing interviews for the podcast, interviews for the magazine, and just getting content overall about some of the things that's going on at the MJ Biz conference. For those who don't know, or those who have never been, MJ Biz is the biggest cannabis conference in the entire world. And every year they have this annual conference in Las Vegas that is, to say the least, overwhelming to somebody who's coming for a first time. So even with Herb, I'm gonna have to prep him for how big this place is. In general, they tell you it's 11 football fields long. Like when you walk in there, yeah, it's massive. It's massive. It's massive. When I brought E with me about a couple of years ago, he had pointed that out. He was like, dog, it's going to take you days to walk this entire place. Like you're not going to do this in a one day. 3 days. Yeah, it will take you days to walk the entire conference to even and that's just you walking the conference. That's not you trying to engage in every vendor, stop at every booth, or none of that. But it's an amazing experience to go to. I liken it a lot to South by Southwest. It's one of them things where if you go, you must have a plan because it's so big and it's so huge, and it happens not just at the conference hall, but all across the city, that you literally can get lost in planning. So start your plans early. I already got some of my plans locked in. I'm still looking at some of the interviews I want to tie in for that day, but it's going to be great. And I'm really happy to be able to bring Herb with me because I've been wanting to bring Herb to this thing for so long to represent Live Hip Hop Daily, especially the fact that I've been able to be blessed with some amazing media access thanks to some of the connects I do have at MJ Biz, being that I've been going here for so long. You know what I mean? Like, so it's cool to be able to share that with my good friend Herb and be able to bring some of that good content back to Atlanta and hopefully bring some more of that good synergy, because I mean, we're almost towards the end of the year. We're almost moving into a new year. That's kind of even crazy to say, but there's just so many big things that could happen, and just at MJ Biz, you get a chance to network and be able to kind of link up with some people who can help you bring some of the things that you want to see happen together, especially on my end as far as with the media company I have, Cash Color Cannabis. I'm able to meet the sponsors. I'm able to meet the vendors who maybe become sponsors. I'm able to meet the people who become the guests and become the features in the magazine. I'm able to put ourselves out there and let people know on a grander scale who we are. It's one of the main reasons why we went from being a local brand to a national brand is the many times we've been at MJ Biz and being able to put ourselves in front of thousands, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people. There'll be plenty of celebrities there. Herb was just asking me if Lil' Kim came the year before last. Like, it was so crazy too how she came, because her publicist had came up to me and said, hey, would you like to interview Lil' Kim? I'm like, hell the fuck yeah. But she was coming the day I was leaving, so there was no chance I was able to do it. But this round, we definitely gonna be there all 3 days. I'm gonna be there with my cameraman. I'm gonna be there with my crew, and we're gonna get as much as possible. So if you're gonna be in MJ Biz, definitely tap our line. Let us know you're gonna be there. Drop us a message. We'd love to connect with you. Grow with us as we're growing, yo. Because as you see, the conversation is still going and it's still growing strong. One other point I want to drop off is Cash Color Cannabis magazine issue number 4 has dropped. The print issues go out next Tuesday, and I'm just excited about that because you talk about a feat. To be able to publish a magazine, this is my first one ever trying to publish a magazine on my own. But to publish a magazine and to be able to put out all 4 copies this year, I need to applaud myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, I need to applaud myself, man. And not to be selfish, you know, this round, I did every story myself for each issue. And it wasn't because I wanted to crowd the space. Like, you know, I have plenty of writer friends. I'd love to involve them in it. But whenever I do something, especially like the podcast, like the magazine, I like to see what it looks like first before I bring somebody else in. You know what I mean? Like, you want to make sure you're creating a product that you feel like is consistent enough for me to say, okay, now I can tap this person because I know exactly kind of feel I want to bring, and I think this person can do it. I didn't want to just throw a bunch of people in and just keep changing the theme and changing the voice. I wanted to make sure the voice was consistent. So it was a work, man. It was work. It was a lot of work. But thank you for everybody who supported. Thank you everybody who purchased the issue. Thank you everybody who subscribed. You've definitely kept me going and kept me focused to the point where, like I say, this next issue goes out to all the subscribers and everybody who purchased next Tuesday. And right after that, I got to start working on the very next one in January. But this one, I'm not going to be alone. I'm not going to say who just yet, but I actually going to bring in my first guest writer for the first issue of the new year next year, and it's going to be dope. So look forward to some of the dope things we have going on at Cash Color Cannabis. Stay focused on Georgia. Georgia's making a lot of noise out here in the cannabis space, whether you know it or not. I mean, most of y'all know because of the pop-ups. You know, our pop-ups are hands down the best. I would New York, what's up? LA, what's up? Shout out to my man Mon. Shout out to the Smoke Battle. Y'all know the vibes. They are putting on some of the better pop-ups, and they letting people know that, you know, Atlanta can get down too. I mean, wait till we get on the mainstream side of things. Wait till we get to the legal side of things. You really gonna see how we gonna make it pop. So yeah, that's all I got for y'all tonight. Make sure y'all just tune in Cash Color Campus. Please follow cashcolorcampus.com. Make sure you subscribe to our newsletter so you can stay posted on everything that's going on Cash Color Campus related. And just watch out, because November is going to be a busy month for the team.